What really is the most effective way to lose weight and keep it off for the long term? To give us the answer to this and other questions relating to dietary and exercise programs, I am really excited and grateful to have obesity expert and best-selling author of Interval Weight Loss for Life, Dr. Nicholas Fuller, join us today. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really am very grateful for your time. And I thought we could begin with you telling us a little bit about the obesity epidemic we're facing as a society and what the research is saying about the best ways to lose this weight.
Sure. Well, I mean, when we look at obesity, it doesn't look good. I mean, the prevalence or the stats are only getting worse. What I mean by that is the number of people that are overweight or have obesity is currently 2/3 of the Australian population. More people that were overweight are moving into the sort of obesity range or clinically diagnosed as having a BMI above 30. Now, with that comes all sorts of complications, costs, but also a significant impact for the individual. Now, the reasons why weight is going up is, I guess, definitely multifaceted. There's different reasons why people struggle with their weight, but really the modern day environment makes it very hard. We're addicted to all of our processed and packaged foods on every corner of every block.
Yes.
Makes it very hard to say no, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and then with that we have a very low, I guess, exercise, physical activity routine these days. We drive everywhere, and then with our lifestyle, we're also seeing a poorer or a decline in our sleep health. So we're addicted to devices, technology. They're keeping us awake all night. And we're having a hard time getting to sleep, but then also staying asleep. So that also has a negative effect on our lifestyle choices. So what we're seeing is this 0.5 to 1 kilo increase on the waistline and our body weight each year. Now, that is quite a large amount, because if you think about it, you know, the age of whatever it might be, 20, 30 or 40, but then over a 10-year span, all of a sudden you've put 10 kilos on.
Yeah.
And it might come with a significant life event. Could be a change of employment, taking on a more senior position, could be starting a family, having children, all sorts of different reasons. But usually then it does mean that we put health down the bottom of the priority list. We keep reaching for all those feel-good foods, don't move, get poor sleep. Now, what do we do, though, in reaction to that? Well, this is where my work comes in at the University of Sydney and Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. I'm lucky enough to work at Charles Perkins Centre. And basically this is a joint collaboration between the hospital and uni, and we are Australia's largest weight management service. So what I mean by that is we're seeing the largest volume of patients per year, not just in our hospital clinics, but also through our research programs, trying to paint a better picture of what weight management should look like long term, so that we can help people, you know, with their goals and allow them to regain control of their weight and their health. Yeah. Now, sadly, the most evident thing that is becoming apparent is people are coming in and they have been on all of the latest and greatest diets, and they have been on them 4 to 5 times every single year. There's all sorts of polls and surveys coming out, but about 60 diets by the age of 45 and spending more than 30 years of your life dieting. So all it's done is contribute to the very problem it's proclaiming to solve. So you've got this obesity epidemic, people struggling with their weight, sort of came about since the 1970s, 1980s. At the same time, you also saw the boom of the dieting industry, 1980s in particular. But that is actually now one of the contributing factors to the problem. So you've got the food addiction, but then we react by dieting, which then accelerates our weight gain even more so. So that's really what my work is looking at, how we can prevent weight regain and help people on their long-term weight loss success. And I could talk about this topic all day because I am very passionate about it. But really, when it comes down to it, we are failing on our weight loss or dieting attempts because, one, they're often very unrealistic, unsustainable, and unhealthy.
Yeah.
But even when they are more healthy, we have another reason and bigger player in the market, and that's our biological imperative to regain the weight. And what I mean by that is our body will fight that weight loss. You're doomed for failure the minute you start a diet because our body doesn't know any better. It will fight to go back to its start point. Your metabolism will lower, your appetite hormones will change so that you eat more, and everything eventually sees you lose weight, but then body shutting down, and then you climb and claw back to where you were.
If you could tell us a little bit about the interval weight loss program, but I know that you've done a lot of research on that, and how does that help us then lose weight for good?
Yeah, so if we think about, the reasons why we're putting on weight and what we just described, remember, it is that biological imperative to regain the weight. So basically, when you deprive yourself of food, you restrict calories, your body goes into shutdown mode, okay? And what it's doing that so that it can burn less calories at rest and go back to its start point, because that's what it thinks is needed in order to survive. It's programmed at that pre-existing weight, and it was needed in order to survive and procreate during, our ancestors' time. We would often go long periods of time without food, days, weeks, and then when it was available, we would gorge and we would store that fat and food and then shut down when it wasn't available. So it's the same in the modern day environment, but you now have food everywhere. So what I'm doing is researching what happens within a person's body when they lose weight. We want to be able to switch off these pathways. We want to prevent your metabolism going down, your appetite hormones going up, telling you to eat more. A couple of years ago, I translated the interval weight loss program. It's not to be confused with intermittent fasting. It's got nothing to do with that. Intermittent fasting is another fad that results in the same results that we've been getting for decades: weight loss followed by weight regain. And the reason why a lot of these diets are popular is because they have big name celebrities behind them, social media sensations, and they have large followings, and they get that instant gratification on the scales, people. So they sort of validate that success, which then ends up in something sort of going viral short term. But when you do follow them up, they are putting the weight on. So going back to IWL, interval weight loss, you're getting a person to lose weight in 4-week cycles. So about 2 kilos over a month. And then you maintain the weight for the next month. So it's down 2 kilos, maintain for the next month, down 2 kilos, maintain, down, maintain. All of those weight maintenance blocks every second month allow your body to rest, allow your body to reprogram at the new lowered set point. And importantly, don't see your biology coming into play. You don't get them lowering in metabolism. You don't get the increase in appetite hormones telling you to eat more. Now, that's good, because if you can do that, your body welcomes the weight loss and it doesn't fight it long term. So what you do is you see this person achieves their goal set point and it's happy at that weight. Okay. So I guess many people want to know, how do you lose that weight? Well, there are 6 key steps. There's a lot of information online at the intervalweightloss.com.au site where you can go and download it, watch short educational videos. There's a series of books which you can loan from the library. They'll be available at your local library. And there's also an online program where you can follow it in the palm of your hand through an app. So it does come down to 6 key steps. It helps you address the food addiction so you can overcome all those cravings for the favorite foods. Helps you with portion sizes. You don't need to be calorie counting and weighing out grams of food. All of that doesn't work long term. It also helps you how to incorporate activities that's sustainable. And then remember sleep health. It will get you falling asleep and getting good quality sleep as well through retraining your brain and moving away from technology.
Yeah, that's hard, isn't it? Because I'm very guilty of that. 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night, I've still got the laptop on.
Yeah, it's very hard to. I mean, there's so much required of us. It's very hard to switch off. But really, when it comes down to it, that work or whatever it might be will wait. You do need a block of time before you go to bed minimum of 1 hour, but potentially even 2 hours where you have no technology, no devices, no blue light, because blue light does emit, technology emits blue light, which suppresses melatonin production, basically telling your brain it's daytime instead of nighttime. So it's a simple one. We just say no blue light after twilight. Just give yourself a block of time where you can engage in something like a hobby, helping your kids with homework, anything that's not technology.
Well, it's a very good aim.
It's hard, but it's easy to get a short period of time before bed. Everyone can do that, and we've found that with a very large community of people now following IWL, they can achieve that small block.
Yeah. So what sort of success, because you've done trials and studies with interval weight loss, what sort of success are you seeing if someone goes on the interval weight loss program and sticks to it? Pretty high success rate, or?
Yeah, they will achieve 11 kilos over a year. So it is approximately about 2 kilos every second month.
Yep.
And importantly, then not stack the weight back on. That's what it's all about. Now, look, if you look at conventional caloric diet restriction or any sort of diet program, they might achieve the 3 to 6 kilos over a year. But then when you follow them up, they're going back to where they started. So it's not only achieving superior weight loss, because remember, it seems slow and steady, but if your body's not fighting it, it keeps going down. And all these other diets start aggressive.
Yeah.
And then you just see the V or U-shaped response where they go back. And IWL, the person just keeps going down. But it's a long game, and that's the hardest thing. You've got to get a person to focus on 6, 12, 24, 36 months, 5 years down the track, not 1 month, not 2 months. That mindset will not see you succeed on IWL.
Yeah.
And it's all about setting goals that are focused on health. Could be family, could be things, anything that's aside from weight. Okay, because you will see improvements in your health from the get-go, but you may not see the weight loss result you're looking for instantly. And that's because people that have been on diets and a lifetime of diets have done all sorts of damage to their body. Sadly, they have damaged their metabolism, their appetite signaling system, and that's why it takes time for that to restore. But then eventually the weight loss does come and the weight comes off.
Oh, so diets can actually be more harmful for you in more ways than just the yo-yoing weight.
Definitely, and that's the most important thing. It's from a metabolic point of view that it's harmful, physiological. You are damaging your metabolism. You're burning less calories at rest. A really good example comes from a good scientist in the US called Kevin Hall. He followed up the contestants from The Biggest Loser.
Oh, yeah.
Now, at the start, their metabolism was about 2,600 calories per day. That's how much they were burning. They lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
The metabolism went down to about 2,000 calories per day. You'd expect a drop because they've got less body mass.
Okay.
There was a drop of about 15% below what could be accounted for. Then these people were followed up 6 years later. They put the weight back on, but their metabolism was still right down here at 1,900 calories per day. So they're not burning much at rest, so the weight keeps going back on.
Oh, so they actually end up worse off. They're putting on more
worse off. They put on more weight and their metabolism hasn't recovered. It's very sad.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about, because I've watched a lot of your material on TV. I know you're on, Today Show, Sunrise and all the big media. I like what you say about shopping around the perimeter of the supermarket, and also what you say about the fact that you can retrain your brain to get the same pleasure hit that you would say for me, it's like KFC or chocolate, I love that stuff. Whereas you're saying that you can train your brain to get that same hit from nuts, avocados, dates, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So
how do you do that?
Okay, so the best examples come from experiments that we do in clinic, and we put people down to 2 different types of food. The example you just gave, the fast food, the KFCs, it could be the bakery goods. Yeah. Everyone's got their favourite foods. Yeah. Now, those foods trigger a feel-good response when we measure brain activity, okay? Yep. These people are wired up and you can see a heightened response. Yep. Now, what you also see is a dopamine release in the brain, which is a learning chemical, so that next time you see that food it is released again, telling you to go back for more of it. Basically, when you eat these foods, you get all these feel-good chemicals being released.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing is when you sit that person down to nature's treats, all the ones you just described, like the berries, the nuts and the seeds, the avocado, these are also high in fat and sugar, but naturally occurring sugars and fat, and you get the same feel-good response in the brain. Okay, now we used to be wired towards nature's treats during our time as hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
Then we saw this modern day environment evolve, and now we've become wired to the fast and processed foods. They make us feel good for a very short time at the time of eating them, but then we feel awful afterwards.
That's true.
Immediately afterwards, and for many hours afterwards, because they don't fill us up as well. And they're very high calorie, very low nutrition. So you get the same feel good response from nature's treats. And what we say with interval weight loss is reach for nature first. Surround yourself with the fruits, the nuts and the seeds, the avocados, the olive oils. And when you have that craving, have those. They're not bad for you. The dieting industry has made out to that certain foods like fruits and vegetables are bad for you, but it is all nonsense.
Yeah.
They're the very food you should be including, not only for your weight and your waistline, but also your health. So you can retrain your brain. And when you go to the supermarket, look, the perimeter is where all the healthy nature's treats are. You really don't need to be going down the aisles all that much, and always go shopping when you're full.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a very good tip. But why initially does it not feel as good to eat a handful of nuts and dates as it does to eat a donut? Like it just doesn't.
Sure. So there's two reasons.
Yeah.
Good question. I mean, it's part of that wiring. We've just now become hardwired to think that the donut tastes better. Okay. They also, the food, big business around manufacturing food that tastes good. Okay, so there's a lot of fat, a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, all of those things together create this, I guess, chemical reaction that really buzzes away in your head. But over time, if you, do say no, 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 and once a week you can say yes to your favourite, but all the other times, 6 out of 7, you're reaching for nature, eventually you start to get that same feel-good, heightened response that you get from the donut or the KFC. Okay. And not only from the meal, but for many hours afterwards, because you don't feel guilty, the food fills you up and it's nutritious. So it doesn't take, it's not going to happen overnight. It does take, we've found 66 days. So you have to persevere. 6 out of 7 days saying no, no, no. Once a week, have your favourite.
Yeah.
But on the other 6, you're retraining your brain back to nature's treats. Eventually you'll say, wow, this food does taste just as good, if not better.
Okay. What about dark chocolate? Can you say the 95, 99% dark chocolate? Can we even try and pretend that that's good for us?
Yeah, look, chocolate that's higher in cocoa content is more nutritional because it has higher antioxidant value. But look, what is most important is when these foods are processed and higher in added sugars and fats, it's better off just enjoying the variety or type that you love and just have it the once to twice per week maximum, because if you do that, you enjoy it and you don't need to be, carefully selecting out potentially healthier alternatives because you're not having them all the time. Sure, some chocolate is better than others, some chips are better than others, but it's more about reducing the frequency or intake, because we're not designed to put those foods into our body every day. We're designed to put the nature's treats in there every day.
Oh, right. That makes sense. And I did remember another, I think, dieting expert or something said that rather than thinking of a diet of restricting what you eat, put adding what you eat, like add olive oil in, add the moofas in, add the things in. So very good way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's a good tip. Add them in. It's not restrictive. It's the opposite. We tell people it's about eating more, not less. It's not deprivation. When you're following IWL, you should feel like, wow, I can't believe I can eat all this food. I can't seem to keep up with the quantity of food I'm supposed to eat. We do know that when people switch from processed packaged food diets, Western diets, to more of the nature's treats with the whole grain breads and cereals, fruits and vegetables, fish, etc., you do see an incidental decrease in calories of about 500 a day anyway. there's a lot of pleasure to get from food itself. Food is simple,
Yeah.
but we've made it quite complex. Okay, it's not about being Michelin star chefs. It's just cooking simple, easy recipes that don't take long.
Yeah. What about your own diet? What sort of diet do you follow? I've seen your recipes on your YouTube channel, and you've probably got recipes in your books too. Am I right?
Yeah, so I live and, practice and preach the interval weight loss plan. That's, what I live and breathe.
Yeah.
So it's about eating plenty of whole grain breads and cereals, plenty of lean protein sources. So it doesn't have to be meat every day, maybe a couple of times a week, but plenty of, plant-based like beans and legumes, and also fish. So it's about encompassing all the food groups, and also going back to fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. Whenever you're feeling like, I guess, again, that craving setting in, you need to keep reaching for more food, not less. And then activity plays a big role. You've got to be moving. You've got to be getting outdoors, doing stuff you love. Incidental activity needs to be monitored. Maybe you wear a wearable. And then, mixing up what you do. So could be going to play sport with friends, and then the next day going to the oval and running around. It's all about IWL for me. So you can find plenty of information on that in the books, but also, as you mentioned, online.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do have a weight problem, what advice could you give people as to where to sort of start? Because I guess there's the psychological component as well. Like, what experts would you suggest people turn to if they're needing that one-on-one support as well? I mean, their GP or a psychologist, or who can sort of help?
Yes, a very good question. The first thing you need to do is stop dieting. Okay, don't validate a diet based on your friends, families, colleagues' success. It's short term. They're depriving themselves of food, and when you follow them up long term, like we do at our clinics, might be a few months down the track or a few years, they've put the weight back on and they're heavier than when they started. Science has proven this.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not due to a lack of willpower. People need to realise it's due to your biology.
Yeah.
Now, the second thing I will say is, I do encourage you to go to the library and probably loan the latest book, Interval Weight Loss for Women. Even though the title's for women, it's suitable for everyone, because it will describe in detail to you, but also in layman's terms, what is happening within your body when you go and try and lose weight. Okay? So that you can go and follow a plan that's evidence-based and sees long-term results. There's a very fabulous, wonderful report that comes out every year by US News and World Report, and they rank all of these diets. Okay, that's the other thing. And last thing I probably would say in terms of what people should do for information, go and have a look at it, because all those favourite popular diets, the ketos and the 5-2s, all these ones we're talking about, they rank right down the bottom. Okay, they don't have the science to back up their bold claims. And they're often not nutritionally balanced as well, which is most important, because remember, this is all about long-term health.
Yeah.
We're not going to see the real repercussions of the dieting industry for many years, when people are developing heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes. So really the most important message is stop dieting, because science has proven it does more harm than good. And if you're going to follow a program, follow evidence-based care, and go and equip yourself with the information. And I do encourage you to read one of the books if you can.
I'm so impressed that you say you can go to your local library and borrow the book. That's great.
They're there,
very affordable.
definitely. Yeah, because that's what it's about. You don't necessarily need to have it as a lifelong resource, but you need to equip yourself with the information.
Sure.
So, and we do know that all the libraries across the country have them. And it just go and get it and read it, because that's the most important thing, so that you feel empowered. If you can do that, a person can then regain control of their health and weight. Because at the moment, it's misleading, confusing information that we're told through the general media, celebrities, social media sensations every day of the week. You've got to block out that noise, because it's largely nonsense.
Yeah.
And you just need to, I guess, empower yourself with that correct information based on science.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I love your work. I really admire what you've done.
Thank you.
And well, just one last thing that I was very interested in, the interval weight loss for women. Is it
Yes.
harder for women? Because I guess in the cave days, surely we are biologically programmed to stack on the weight.
Yeah, it's a really good point you make. I mean, and there is research to show that particularly through menopause, that we know the body weight and the weight shifts, okay, around from, butts to hips to stomach. But when it comes down to it, look, men also struggle, but women do go through significant life events that us men don't have to. And I'm talking about earlier on and going on the contraceptive pill.
Yeah.
Then maybe midlife, earlier on, later on, pregnancy, falling pregnant, having kids, and the challenges that come with that. Yeah. Then later on, menopause as well. But menopause is still such an early part of a person's life. Now, again, there are certain things going on, hormonal changes, but when it comes down to it, it's usually because other priorities become the priority. It could be the kids, the work, and consequently health goes by the wayside. It's neglected, and that's why the weight comes, or why it starts to stack on more evidently. So, look, there is some hormonal changes taking place, but most importantly, lifestyle does not remain that number one focus, and consequently weight is more likely to go up quicker. So those challenges are tackled in the book, and that's why it's called For Women. But if you're a bloke and you're reading it, you can easily skip through. But it's also important to be able to understand that if it's from, say, your partner's perspective and what they might be going through at some particular time.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said too about your partner. That's probably useful. Maybe men aren't as likely to take care of their health as well as women. So it's probably good to encourage men and partners, because maybe there's a lot of times where both are overweight. So I guess this could be something you could do together.
And if you do it together, you're more likely to succeed because you're introducing healthier habits into the home and into the family. So, and you're right, men are less likely to do something about their health, or they wait until a serious health scare, and that could be the heart attack. Most instances, they don't even survive that. So if you do, and you're lucky enough to get through that, then what happens is they do overhaul their lifestyle and form new healthy habits. So do something before it's too late. And then for women that are, bravely out there trying to do something about their weight, stop dieting, because it's not the answer. Equip yourself with the right information, and you will be able to get back on track.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of teenagers overweight these days. I'm seeing a lot of really young people, really, really already obese, I would say.
Yes, more and more children are clinically diagnosed as overweight or having obesity in our clinics. 1 in 4, basically. It's a scary number. We're basically programming our next generation to be overweight. This is not a good thing. This is why the parents have a large responsibility in forming healthy habits and passing that on to their kids, especially during the first years of life. This is where we're programming our set point, and we want to give them every possible chance of having a healthy and happy life.
Some scientists have now shown, you probably know this, that obesity can be passed on through men's sperm. So if you've got an obese father, they've shown with experiments with mice so far, at the University of Sydney, I think, that the offspring are going to be more likely to be obese if the father is obese, and they're epigenetics. They're saying obesity is becoming inheritable.
Epigenetics plays exactly a very big role. It's all about that programming and the first years of life, as you mentioned, the first 1,000 days from conception through to 2 years. So, do pass on good habits to your children. They will pick them up. They're watching you from day one. They will form healthy habits, and they'll be able to take that throughout their lifetime. And there's so many different topics we could tackle, and down the track, maybe we can do another one and sort of hone in more specifically on different things. I mean, this has been more broadly about weight and dieting, the dangers that come with dieting. I think, and I'm sure I've hopefully instilled that into, the listeners, that dieting's bad. There is hope. And if you're going to go out, remember, just instill and educate, because if you do that, you'll be able to regain control you're not only your weight, but more importantly, your health. That is the number one thing. Everyone needs to prioritize the health. Without it, you have nothing.
I 100% agree with you. That is so true. And I love your message. And I think the more people that hear this message, the better, so that we can cut through all the rubbish and give people something that's really going to work.
Oh, very kind, Suvi. Very, very, very kind. Thank you.
No, thank you. Honestly, thank you for your time. And you have a good afternoon.
Bye, Suvi. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.